My name is Brett Smith, owner of Whitetail Land Management Services. This is the public land pick apart. Sorry to interrupt this video for this awesome giveaway. All right, guys. So we're giving away some Vortex binos. You look like you could use some free binos. Do you like free binos? Do you like free hunting gear? Well, you're in the right place. We're gonna give away a lot of it. We're gonna start with a pair of Vortex binos. So in order to win these Vortex binos, it's not that hard, guys. All you gotta do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you can even comment below for extra entries. So we're gonna be giving away a pair of Vortex binos for now. But don't worry, if you don't win the Vortex binos, we're gonna keep giving stuff away. We're looking to ramp this channel up fast. So the faster we get more subscribers, the faster we start giving away stuff. Do you want a new bow? We're gonna be giving away a new bow. There's a whole list of things that we're gonna be giving away. This is just the first. So if you get entered now, you're gonna be entered for all future giveaways. So like I said, guys, we're gonna give away a pair of Vortex binos very soon. We only got a handful of subscribers to go until we get to our goal. When we get there, we're gonna announce it. We'll probably do another video announcing who the winner is and give away some free stuff. So if you guys want a pair of Vortex binos, maybe a bow in the future, or a lot of other cool gear, hit the subscribe button, make sure you're liking these videos, and also comment for extra entries. So simple as that. If you like free stuff, do it. What is up, people? We are coming at you today with a new segment. We're gonna call it the Public Land Pick Apart. What is the Public Land Pick Apart? Well, some of you are going to be very happy with me, and about 1% of you are not going to be happy with me. What we're going to do is we're going to go around the entire country, pick a state, pick a piece of public land on it, and pick it apart. I've never been to any of these places, but maybe you want an expert opinion. Obviously, that's something I do for a living, so get in the mind of maybe somebody that sees a lot of property. And picks apart some public land and maybe areas that they'd check out. Now, obviously, I can't guarantee you that these are perfect areas, but they're areas that caught my eye for certain reasons. There's maybe topographical features, there's things like that. There's funnels, there's a bunch of different things that end up catching my eye. And so I want to point those out to you. So today we're going to start in possibly the most popular / dreaded state there is, the popular Michigan. All right, guys. So after looking at the entire state, there's a lot to pick from, a lot. And there was a lot of land farther north, but I wanted to stay in the central to lower portion of the state, maybe a little bit up there, but nothing too crazy, where you still get a mixture of ag ground and things like that. A place that, your typical guy is going and hunting. Now, this has some ups and downs. Normally, I like to stay away from cities, which this one is. It's about an hour away. And yes, I will give the name and everything of the place. I'll give it right now, actually. This is the Flat River State Game Area. This is the piece that I'm going to be picking apart. This does have some good things going for it. Not, perfect, but a little birdie told me through the grapevine that there's some decent deer that have been in this area. So this is a place that I wanted to look a little bit closer into. And since we know that there's some decently quality deer, at least for the area, we might as well pick it apart because maybe we can learn something from this. And even if you don't hunt these areas, and this goes for any state that we're going to go over, if you don't hunt these areas, you can still pick apart what I'm looking at and those features, and hopefully, dissect your own piece of public land or private land. So we are looking at the Flat River State Game Area near the city of Greenville, Michigan. Now, obviously, some of you that hunt in this area probably aren't going to be overly happy with me doing this, but this is just an education segment. I don't expect a lot of people to go drive all the way to Michigan to go hunt these waypoints just because I think they look good on a map. Now, there's reasons I'm picking them, but there's no guarantees. This is just looking at maps. So the first one that I want to start with, the reason I ended up picking it, and like I said, as a whole, this state game area is not great for access. There's a lot of, and when I say that, I mean there is a lot of access. There's a lot of different ways to access these different pieces of the public land, and so I tried to limit it down to only one access point. So the first place that I ended up picking was way over on the western portion here. Over on the western portion here, there's the Wasabi's Creek that flows from east to west, and back in this area there's a couple creek systems that kind of conjoin into this one intersecting point. Plain and simple is one of the first things that caught my eye is one, this lays out well for westerly winds. You're predominantly southwest, northwest wind. We can play with this. We can get out there and you know, pick this apart a little bit more. And do it often because we're gonna have the winds for it, chances are, if we go on our public land hunting trip. And another thing that caught my eye is you know, this creek system. That's gonna be a natural travel corridor. There's oxbows within that creek system. What is an oxbow? An oxbow is a big, basically, turn in a creek system. A lot of times you'll see bedding in those oxbows. Along with that, there are a lot of topographical features, almost some slight small ridges that kind of intersect in that point, which is ultimately going to funnel deer along that creek bottom as well, and create some pinch points between the creek systems and things like that. So this is the first spot that kind of caught my eye. For a couple different reasons, and that's a big deal when it comes to public land. You want to be able to pick some of these apart for a couple reasons. You want to have these spots have a couple things going for them. So that's the first one that kind of caught my eye a little bit. It wasn't my favorite by any means, and in fact, it was probably my least favorite that I ended up finding. But that's at least a starting point. Only had one access point, good for predominantly southwest, northwest winds, has a natural travel corridor through a creek system, intersects with another creek, which ultimately means that deer could be traveling from both creeks. So where those creeks do meet might be a good spot to put a stand. Those oxbows, I don't know if I touched on that again yet, but like I said, those oxbows are a big part of that creek system that I really like. And just if you look at the actual edge habitat in the area, I mean, it's not just normal one type of timber. It looks like there could be some CRP, brushy grass fields, things like that. And although this place as a whole, this whole public land didn't have great access, it's one thing I noticed when I did look at this map, is it's super edgy. It's got a lot of little pockets of cover and things like that. That's huge. And so if I were to be going to this piece of property and going hunting this the first week of season, these are probably the spots that I would focus on. Later in the season, let's face it, it's Michigan. It's gonna get pressured. There's no guarantees, but these might be some really good places to be checking out early in the season, or if you want to go to Michigan and do an early season hunt the first week of season. These might be some places to go check out. And I believe I measured that spot, and I think it was about 800 yards off the road, so a decent walk. So that is the first spot that I kind of liked. The second spot was down a little farther. Okay, so once again, only one access point, good for predominantly southwest, northwest winds. It's got a lot of edge habitat, and it's got good topography. So when I talk about good topography, there's a lot of different features that I could list off and name. The ones that I really am a fan of on this one is on this western portion of the property. There is some ridge fingers that jet out off the private. Okay, normally that doesn't mean a whole lot to me unless I can correlate it with something. So those ridge fingers look like they correlate with possibly some agriculture to the west of where those ridge fingers are on some private land. So in my head, I'm thinking that if those are ag fields and those are ridge points, in a perfect scenario, a buck likes to bed in hill country on leeward ridges. So basically, he'll bed on that point with a westerly wind coming over his back, looking to where all of the pressure comes from the road, the direction of the road. So keeping that in mind, maybe with some preseason scouting, you could go up and check these leeward ridges, these ridge points, see if there is bedding up there. If there is, now we can go all the way around, J-hook down and under on a northwest wind, and maybe on a southwest wind we can come from the top. So my hopes and thoughts are that these ag fields are probably going to get hunted by the private landowner, and in majority, I would say a lot of people maybe aren't paying attention to wind. You know, you're watching this video because you're a serious hunter, but you got to realize that not everybody is. So if those people go onto that land on a southwest, northwest, any west wind, their wind is blowing deer back into the public. So those deer probably won't make it out to those ag fields more than once without getting educated, which might make this another good spot to get early in the season, especially if you can correlate those agriculture fields with soybeans, which is obviously a predominant food source early in the season. So I really like the topography here. It all kind of, funnels down to some points off the tips of those ridge fingers a little bit, and kind of pinches things down. But really, in majority, I just like the topo features themselves of the ridge fingers for buck bedding, possible buck bedding. Now, like I said, you can go in there and look for sign and kind of pick them apart and go from there, and see if they are worth hunting. Another spot, let's see, that I ended up finding was not great for predominant winds, but using the J hooking method, which I like to do, which is basically where you J hook down and around, you take the long way around to get the wind in your favor, you could possibly make this one work. This one would be a good north wind spot. You would also probably need waders or maybe a kayak, or you might have to kayak down the river. It's hard to say, or the Wasabi Creek. And once again, it's hard to say how wide this creek is. But if you were to access over here from the west, which I don't love doing, J-hooking down into the bottom here and coming up to this creek, there is a pinch point if you cross this creek. A lot of people wouldn't realize that there's a pinch point there, but obviously the creek is one side of that pinch point. The other side is this topo, okay? So the topo looks like there is probably a 50-foot change in elevation. When there's that large of a change in elevation, deer will stick to the flat spots. Where is the flat spot? It's within, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 yards of that creek. Ultimately, a great pinch point for bow hunting. Now, who knows? Maybe you save this spot for the perfect wind. You know, you get that east-northeast wind, something like that. You could get in there and have that creek bottom, or that creek at your back once you cross over. Have your wind blowing over the creek so that nothing could catch you. This could be a great funnel during the rut if you are, if you get the right wind for it, basically. So that is another spot that ended up catching my eye. And it is close to some residential neighborhoods, but at the same time, I don't know how worried about them I am, especially during the rut. I mean, just putting yourself in a natural funnel itself is, you know, it's gonna pay off if you put in the time. With that being said, there was another funnel that I ended up seeing. Let's see if I can find it again. A lot of times we, as public land hunters, we like to think we got to get a mile off the road. And on this piece of private, public land, it's not even possible. So sometimes the next thing I go to is how close can I stay to the road and hunt an overlooked spot? I've hunted spots where I can literally watch the vehicles go by. One of my best spots I've ever hunted. I literally, 140, 50, 60 inch deer, I can watch the cars go by. This is one of those spots. So there is a road here on the Flat River. I don't know what road this is. You could pick this apart. That basically pinches down, comes towards the road, and then heads south right in here. So what that does is it creates a pinch point between there and the road. And quite frankly, you'd probably only have to get about 80 yards off the road, sit in this pinch point, depending on some prior scouting, figure out if there's a bedding area to the north or the south. And if it's to the south, obviously wait for a south wind so your wind's blowing away from that bedding area. If you find some bedding to the north, which I think would be possible, especially up around what looks to be a power line, I'm sure there could be bedding along that edge when they come down and around that corner. If you hunted that on a north wind, you'd have the wind in your favor. This is a great pinch point, a great funnel, ultimately. And if you really dig closer and we start looking at the topo, let's look at this portion right here. So the topo creates a little bit of a pinch point between the river and the bottom of this ridge. Once again, deer want to stay on the flat spot, out of sight, out of mind. This would be a low spot in the creek. And there's a good chance this could be a good travel corridor for deer to be sneaking through. The other thing I really like is there is a slight tributary that comes in from the road. It's hard to say how significant this is, but there is a swamp on the other side of the road. So I would say, you know, it's significant enough to semi-funnel deer if they do come from across the road. So now you have an intersection at this point as well, let alone a pinch point through the Flat River and the bottom of this ridge, which is, looks like it could be steep for, you know, a 20-foot bank, maybe in some spots. So, and at the end of the day, this is a spot that you only have to get in off the road probably 100 yards, maybe 120. Maybe it's 80 yards. Let's actually take a measurement here and see. To the edge there. Okay, 160 yards. Nonetheless, that is not a bad walk for any public land hunter. So, not a bad spot. So with that being said, guys, this is kind of my pick apart of the Flat River state area, state game area in Michigan. This, like I said, is in Greenville. I'm not saying this can be the best public land in the state. I'm sure there's better. But this is how I picked it apart. And I only took a little bit of time to really pick this thing apart. I'm sure there's definitely better spots. I mean, as I look down here, you got some nasty looking, possibly planted trees in the past, but not great access. So I don't know, there's definitely other spots is what I'm getting at within this public land and around the state. This is just how I picked this piece apart. And if I were to be a resident of this area or going on a trip to this state, this is how I would have picked apart this piece of public land. So whether or not you guys take this advice and use it is totally up to you. If somebody does decide to shoot a 160, 180 inch deer out on the flat, what was it again? The Flat River. Yeah, the Flat River State Game Area in Michigan, let me know. And if you use some of my waypoints, well, good for you. You used your resources. So that's what I got for you guys today. This is the Michigan Public Land Pick Apart, and now we're going to come at you with a different state next time around. So if you guys like these videos, make sure you're liking and subscribing. We're going to keep doing this segment. We'll probably drop these maybe once a week, maybe once a month. We'll see how many we're gonna kick out for you guys. And if you're going on a hunting trip, you really you want to pick apart a different state you've never been to, and you're not familiar with how topography works in that state or how certain features funnel deer, now you got a place to come look. So hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.